the first thing we actually want to do is in service get the currency script I made a tutorial for. Over here we have it, and we're going to call it the stonk handler. And then what we're going to do is in this script is we are going to, after the declaration of the leader stats folder, going to say local stonks folder equals to instance.new folder, and here we're going to say stonks folder.name equals to stonks folder.parent equals to player plr from over here. So this should insert the folder into the player. Now we're going to do something quite cool. We're going to in service insert a module script, and we're going to call this the stonk module. Then we're going to make so that instead of it being local module, we're going to say local stonk module, and we're going to make it return stonk module. Now between these, what we are going to do is we're going to need some functions. So first of all, we need to say stonk module dot save stonks equals to function in brackets player ds. And now the idea is that here in the stonk handler, we're going to, after here, simply say, we're going to up here also get local stonk module equals to required game.service.stonk module over here. So this is going to give us what it returns here, the stonk module. So here we can access stonk module.save stonks player, and then it wants us to input a data store. At least that's what we're going to need it for. So up here we're going to say local SDS, standing for stonks data store, equals to game : get service data store service : get data store stonks data store. And then after the player here, we are just going to pass in SDS. So what do we actually want to do in this function? Well, in this function we want to do while wait 5 do, so that as soon as this function is triggered, for every 5 seconds it's going to say local stonks equals to plr.stonks, which is the folder that we are declaring over here. And then we're going to say get children, creating a table of all of the ancestors. Then we're going to say for I, stonk in pairs stonks, and because we're already doing get children here, we don't have to do it here, do, and this is simply local key equals to plr.user id dot underscore dot stonk dot name. This is a unique identifier for each player at each start. Then we're going to say local val equals to stonk.value. This value is going to register how many of the stock every player has. And then we're going to say ds : set async. It's not going to recommend it here, but it will work. Key, val. I have already created a tutorial on how to do data stores, but simply what this does, every 5 seconds, it gets all the stocks the player has, and for every stock creates a key containing the player's user ID concatenated with the name of the stock and then it saves to this key how many of these stock the player has. Now you may ask, how in the world does the player even get any stocks? Because that has not been explained yet. Well, for this, what we're going to have to do is in replicated storage add a folder. This folder we're going to call stonk stuff. And in this folder, we are going to insert another folder, which we are going to name local stonks. This folder will be to regulate the prices. Then we'll have a folder stonk templates. And in here, we're also going to have a folder stonk amounts. And for later, we'll also insert a folder stonk value directions. So these are a bunch of folders, but simply put, they're going to all contain nearly the same thing. Because the local stonks folder is for the prices of the stonks. The stonk value directions is for if the last change in stock value was up or down. Stonk templates is just so that we know to insert the stonk values into the player. And stonk amounts is to set how many stonks the server still has. So, what we're going to do is in local stonks, we're going to insert int values, which we are going to just give the name of our stonks. So, let's say I have bread and I have beer. What I can then do is say that bread is worth, let's say, 5 and beer is worth 2. Now what we can do is, this will mean that if, when we're finished, bread will on the start cost 5 and beer cost 2. But that's only at the start of the game, because as soon as if players start buying and selling stuff and values change, all of that's going to be different. So, now the player still doesn't have any stocks in his inventory or whatever. So, before the stonk module.save stonks, we're going to say stonk module.init stonks, which stands for initialize stonks, equals to function where we get the plr, data store. Now in here we're going to do something rather different than to the save stonks, even though we're getting the same arguments. What we're going to do is we're going to get two variables, local plr stonks equals to plr.stonks. We're not using a colon get children because we're adding the folder here. And we're going to say local stonks equals to game.replicated storage.stonk stuff .stonk templates colon get children. That's why we need the stonk templates folder over here. So what we're then going to do is for I, stonk in pairs stonks do stonk colon clone dot parent equals to player stonks. So just the folder player.stonks. But currently that would mean that the player just has no stonks. What we also have to do is actually we have to in the stock templates have to just get again these values and copy and paste them into here, but make that the values are both 0 because the player shouldn't start with any stonks. Also, we should also get these values into stonk amounts, but here we're going to define how many of these are in the economy. So let's say there is 50 beer stonks and 100 bread stonks. That should work. Now, after here we're going to say plr stonks equals to plr stonks colon get children. So this just means that the variable is updated to the table of stocks. what we're now going to do is we are going to say for I, comma, stonk in pairs, pilar stonks do. So now we're going to loop through the player stonks and actually give him of the stonks that he has. So you know how we here use this key to save it? Well, we can use exactly the same key over here, because else we wouldn't be getting the same data. Talking about data, our next variable is local data, which is going to be nil, because we don't want, because we're going to override it with saving, but in loading cases, we are going to say pcall. We're going to use pcall function, and here we're going to say data equals to ds colon get async with the key. And that's basically all we have to do in this pcall. And now we can say if data is not nil, so if it's not the first time for the player to join, in any other case it's just going to leave it like that, then stonk.value equals to data. And that should actually be able to give the player then the stonk. Anyways, what we also have to do is before this stonk module save stonks, we also have to do stonk module dot initialize stonks with again the player and the stonks data store. So it's first going to load all the stonks and then it's going to start saving them every 5 seconds. Now, something to test this out, which would be very crucial, is we are going to publish this game. So I'm just going to call this stonk market tutorial. And the thing is, to later on test for the if it works globally, we'd actually have to make it so that the places only have like one server slot each. So I'm going to instantly set that right now because it can be quite finagly in any other case. So first of all, I'm going to set it to public. And that should be about as much as I can do here. Also in security, I'm going to say enable security access to API services. Now that that's out of the way, we can actually, now that we are saving and loading the stonks of the player, we can get to some cool stuff. As for instance, having a display for the stonks. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a part over here, and this is going to be the part for the adorning of where the stonks are displayed and where you can buy them. So I'm going to make this part black, and I'm going to make it be quite a decent size, being about, let's say like this and this. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to in here insert a surface GUI. The surface GUI is going to contain a frame, which we are going to call main frame. This main frame's dimensions are going to be 1, 1, and its background transparency is going to be a hole. Then what we're going to do is insert into here a text label, which dimensions we're going to make 1, 0.2, Then we're also going to make here the background transparency be 1. We are going to make the text bold. We're going to also make it scaled, and we're going to make the text be by stonks. Also, so that this is actually visible, I'm going to make it so that the text color is white, because if it's on a black background, it is required to be white. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the main frame, also insert a scrolling frame, which where I'm going to make the anchor point be 0.5, 1. The position will be 0.5, 1, so that it's over here, and the size will be 1, 0.8, so that it uses the whole rest of the space, and its background transparency is also going to be 1. Now in here, I'm going to insert a UI grid layout, and I'm just going to make it so that here the cell padding is on the x-axis, the offset is 0, for both of them. And on the x-axis, it's going to be 0.3333. Actually, 0.0333 or whatever. And on the y-axis, it's going to be 0.01. Now we are going to design some type of a frame to be actually inside of here. So we're going to insert a frame, call this template, and then we are going to make this template. The thing is, this size is actually already controlled by the UI grid layout, so we don't need to care about those. What we definitely want in this frame, though, is a UI corner, which is going to be set to 0.2 comma. We're also going to make this template frame be a nice type of blue. I mean, this is all up to you, but this is how I'd personally design this. Then we'll also have to have we'll also need a few display things. So we'll need a text label, which is going to be the title. For this, it's just going to be one background transparency, and the size is going to be 1, 0.2, comma. And we're just going to make this be bold again, text scaled, and that's about how we can leave this. And we don't only need a title, but we also need a price, which is kind of like the title, only that instead of 1, it is 0.5, and that the anchor point is on the y-axis 1, so that we can make so that it's on the position on the y-axis also 1, so that it's down here. Now this is called price. Now we also need an amount, so for this we're just going to duplicate the price, call it amount, and make the anchor point be on the x-axis also 1, and then on the position also 1, so that it's over here. We can leave the rest of the properties basically the same. Now we are also going to insert an image label into here, which we are going to make the anchor point be 0.5 and the position 0.5, 0.5, comma. This centers it, and the size is going to be 0.6, 0.6, comma, so that it's just about like this. Now we also need a text button, which is going to be the buy button. Now this button is going to be somewhat green, because I imagine that makes sense for a buy button. And we're going to, as per usual, make the font be bold with text scaled. It is going to include basically the same UI corner with the 0.5. And then the anchor point would be 0, 0.5. And the position would be 0.075, comma. So that's about the x-axis. Now the y-axis would be the same thing. Well, actually, without the 0 here, so that would be 0.75, whereas the other axis would be 0.075, so that the button is about there. And the size is going to be 0.4, 0.15, comma, so that it's directly over the label, taking up about this much space. Now we're going to duplicate this and call it the sell button. Now here we're going to make it be rather reddish. And here we're going to make the anchor point be 1, 0.5, so that we can also make so that instead of it on the x-axis being 0.075, it is 0.925, so that it's directly on the opposite side the same way. Now here we're going to make the sell button actually say sell, and the buy button say buy, so that the player actually knows which button is for which. But now you may ask, how do we make the player actually set how much they will sell? For this, we are going to insert text boxes. Now we are going to have the buy amount. This buy amount will have a normal anchor point of 0, 0.5. The position is then going to be 0.025, 0.255, so that it'll be over the buy button and about at the same way on the x-axis. The size is going to be 0.4, 0.2, so that it's also going to include the same UI corner, and the text is going to be nil, and instead the placeholder text is going to be just amount. Now, because it looks nice, we're also going to make this bold and text scaled. And now we're going to make the background transparency 1. Actually, we're going to make it 0.5 and make the background color be black so that it looks more like this. We're going to duplicate the buy amount and name this the sell amount, and simply put the anchor point over to 1, 0.5, and instead of it being on 0.025 as on the other one, we're going to make it 0.925 so that it's just on the other side like this. Now we're going to get into some coding for this. So, in the buy and sell button, we're going to need to insert remote events, and in both of them, in this one, we're going to insert a local script, or we're going to say script.parent.mouse button one click connect function script.parent.remote event fire server, and we're just going to copy this script over into the sell button. Now, in the buy button, we're going to insert a script, and we're going to first of all get the stock module from our main script. So, copy and paste, and we're going to say script.parent.remote event.onServer event connect function. We're going to get the PLR, and then we're going to say stonk module.buy stonk, and we're going to insert a player, comma, script.parent.name, because we're going to actually make these frames be called what stock they're representing, so we can use that. So we're also here going to say comma amount, which we're actually getting here in the remote event, because in these local scripts we're saying script.parent, in the fire server we're saying script.parent.parent dot by amount dot text, which is what the player will type. Yeah, we'll actually have to use for the sell button local script the line a bit different, because we're not using the buy amount dot text, we're using the sell amount dot text. So these script words. Now in the sell button we'll also insert a script which will be quite similar. We are also going to first of all get the stonk module, and we're going to say script.parent.remote event.onServer event connect function, and we're getting the player, comma, the amount. Now we're basically doing the same thing as in this script, only that instead of us triggering buy stonk, we're triggering a function we're still going to create sell stonk. Now, if we got buy and sell, if we're trying to use buy and sell stonk, we still need to define buy and sell stonk. So, back in the stonk module, what we're going to do is we are going to say right after these functions, stonk module dot buy stonk equals to function player, in brackets, we're going to then write player, comma, name, so the stonk name, comma, amount. Now, this is quite a bit, but it's going to work out. So, if amount is not equal to nil, then we're going to make a bunch of variables. Local stonk price equals to game.replicated storage.start stuff.local starts and in square brackets name. So this is the value of that. Now we don't know exactly how much it is, but we can get that. Local start amount equals to game.replicated storage.start stuff.start amounts, and then in here name. Now local money equals to plr.leaderstats.cash, which is my currency name. Now local amount price equals to stonk price dot value multiplied by amount. So this is how much the player needs to actually afford this much. Now our last variable for now, local plr stonk amount equals to plr.stonks and then in square brackets name. Now, these variables are for how much the stonk costs, how many stonks there are left over, how much money the player has, so that his money value, and then how much all these stonks together would cost, and how many stocks the player already has, like the value for that, so that we can add on to it. Now here we actually need to check some stuff, because if money.value is bigger or equal to amount price, does the player actually have enough money, is what we're here checking. Then if stonk amount is bigger or equal to number amount, because a text box text would still be text, so we actually have to turn it into number, because if the text is purely made out of numbers, then this will return just the same number, just in a number instead of a string, but else it's going to make a weird number, which the player probably won't be able to afford then. So now we're going to say stonk amount dot value minus equals to number amount. So number amount is how many starts the player is buying, so we're going to say that we're going to deduct as many starts from the server. plr stonk amount dot value plus equals to number amount. So here we're first taking it off the server and then giving it to the player. Now money dot value minus equals to amount price, so we're deducting the money from the player. And this is about where we're going to leave it for now. In the next tutorial, we're actually going to make something, we're going to do something cool here, but we're for now going to just keep it like this. Now that we created the sells stonk, we actually need to buy stonk. So we're just going to copy over this function, but instead of buy stonk, we're going to call it sell stonk. We need basically the same stuff. We're going to use just the same variables. And now but we need to do a bit different here. The if statement is going to be number amount is smaller or equal to plr stonk amount dot value. So for selling, does the player even have enough stonks to sell there? And here we don't even need this if statement in this scenario. But we're also going to do this a bit different. Basically, we're just here where it's a minus, we're going to turn it into a plus, and here where it's a plus, we're going to turn it into a minus, and here we're going to give the player money. We're just inverting the symbols because we're selling instead of buying. And of course, we're here going to later on do something. Now we're able to buy and sell stocks. But how is the player even supposed to buy and sell stocks if he has like no way to even click these buttons because they're nowhere? Well, for this, what we're going to do is we're going to copy over this template and we are going to put it into the stonk module. Also, we're going to put the surface GUI into starter GUI and put the adornee to the part so that it works the same way. It's only that now the buttons actually function, which is something super weird that it doesn't else. But what we are here going to do is say stonk module dot reload stonk display equals to function, and here we're going to have stonks. And something we actually have to do is we have to, in the starter GUI, insert a regular script. And here we are going to say, we're going to get the stonk module, of course, again. And we're going to say, we're going to make a for loop for I comma stonk in pairs game.reflected storage.stonk stuff dot local stonks colon get children do local stonk frame equals to game dot server script service dot stonk module dot template colon clone, and we're going to say stonk frame dot name equals to stonk dot name. We're going to say stonk frame dot image label dot image equals to stonk module stonk dot name. Now you may ask, how does it even get this? Well, that is because before the return stonk module, we're actually going to here be inserting something. And I'm going to separate this with in comments and these brackets icons. So this is, and then with again these brackets and another two minuses. So here we're going to have icons for our stocks. So how this works is all we have to do is we have to define them. So stonk module dot beer equals to, and in here we'd put our arbitrary asset IDs for the items of the modules. I'm for now going to keep them empty, but actually I'm just going, for this, I'm going to go into the toolbox, images, and I'm going to search for bread, and then I'm just going to copy asset ID, and I'm then going to, in the template image label to format this ID, I'm going to paste it. And then this turns it into arbitrary asset ID. I control H this out so that it's again empty, and then I paste this into these brackets, into these quotation marks. Now I also have the bread, so stonk module dot bread equals to actually this is the bread. So I'm actually going to have to do the same thing for beer. Yeah, why not this? And I'm going to paste this into the image again. Cut the asset ID and paste it into here. Now that the asset, now it can find these items through this, but this is not all. We don't only want to set the image, so we also want to say stonk frame dot title dot text equals to stonk dot name. We want to say stonk frame dot price dot text equals to stonk dot value, and stonk frame dot amount dot text equals to game dot replicated storage dot stonk stuff dot local stonks, and then in square brackets stonk dot name, and then after square brackets dot amount dot value. And finally, stonk frame dot parent equals to script dot parent dot surface GUI dot main frame dot scrolling frame. And now after this, we're going to say while wait, nothing in the wait do, stonk module that reloads stonk display, and we're just going to say script parent dot surface GUI dot mainframe dot scroll in frame. So we're going to pass this in because in here we're also asking for the frame of stonks. And in here, to actually do that, we're going to say local stonks equals to gain the replicated storage dot start stuff dot local stonks colon get children for I comma stonk in pairs stonks colon get children do. And then here we're just going to update all the frames. So we're first going to check if it stonk colon is a frame. Then so this is if this is actually something to display stonk, then local stonk frame equals to stonk, and we're going to say stonk frame dot. We're basically just going to copy over most of this stuff from here. We're going to get these, I'd say. Yes, we're going to get all of these. And then we are pretty much done with loading and reloading this frame. So, let's see if it works. Oop, and our first error. Stunt module, line 49, price is stunt.value. Oh yeah, we actually do this part a bit different. So we're first trying to start off with quotation marks where we'll put a dollar sign or whatever the sign for a currency is. Then afterwards dot game dot replicated storage dot starts stuff dot local starts donk dot name dot value. So this is actually how we displayed here instead. So let's see if this works. Now that we fixed that. Now it doesn't give us an error from the start. Oh, yep, they're here. And yes, they're being displayed properly. Now I got 50. So, and they're, oh, it seems to not be getting the value of how many stars there are in the thread. Well, let's see. Can I buy one for 5? Nope, I can't. Let's see why that is. And whilst that, we're actually also going to fix the amount issue. Yeah, we're using local stunts instead of stonk amounts. Over here. So, let's see why this comes up. Line 64. So that means that in the case of buying stonk amount. Yep, we are doing something wrong indeed there. Because we actually have to use dot value here. Let's see if the same problem would show up in sell stonks. Doesn't seem so. Let's see if this works now that we play. So if we go over to here, yeah, now it's actually also using the correct amount. So let's see. Can I buy? If it would cost me 10 to buy 2 bread. So let's see. Yep, it deducts me 2 bread. Now there is 2 less in stock. And now if I check my player stonks bread, yes, I got 2. Whereas from beer, I got 0. Now, let's see. If after 5 seconds, this should have saved. So if we wait those 5 seconds and now stop and play again, expand the players folder, our own, and stonks again, and check bread back, and we still got 2 bread. Whereas from beer, we only got 0 right now. Now, currently, it does not save how many stonks the server has, but we will do that in the next episode, along with some other pretty cool stuff. So I would recommend you to stick around for that. But until then, I'm Scripted. This was part 1 of how to make a global stock market, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.